Welcome to Spiritual Psychic with Sarah Wiseman, where you'll learn how to unlock the secrets of spiritual intuition and your own psychic gifts. Here's Sarah.
Welcome to Spiritual Psychic. I'm Sarah Wiseman. Today we're talking about why do we get stuck and how can we get unstuck. So a lot of times when I tell my own story of a near-death experience back in 2000, there's this sense of almost like, oh, you're so lucky you had that, or you're so, in quotes, special that you had this experience, or gosh, I wish I could have one of those. And I got to say, like, you do not wish you had a near-death experience. Okay, they're not fun. They sometimes give people that unicorns and angels feeling, but a lot of times, in my own case, it was 4 years of dark night of the soul directly after that opening happened. It wasn't fun. So, and of course, you don't need to have a near-death experience at all to have spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is something that comes to every single person. Every single person who wants to become spiritually awake, that's all it takes, is the desire. It is just simply the asking of your heart. That is it. You just have to ask, and the process begins. So we move along in our lives, and we have these periods of tremendous growth. We understand everything. It's just all simple. The whole awareness seems very simple. Consciousness is kind of like, what's the big deal? It's so simple. It's so easy. And we're moving along like that for, a couple months or maybe even as long as a year. And then boom, something happens and we become confused or unsure, or maybe we have a challenge we have to deal with, or maybe a lot of our life, kind of falls away, like we move or something ends or relationship ends or school ends or a job ends. And again, we move to a different location. Someone transitions, all of these things that kind of knock us out of that really accelerated way of moving through our lifetime. And we enter this period of being really stuck. Or maybe we choose it on purpose. Maybe all the signs are there to take a particular job or to be in a particular relationship. And we go forward and we do that. And then we're totally stuck, like after a year or 2 years, where we realize, gosh, all the signs were there, but did I make a giant mistake? I feel terrible. This is awful. Now what do I do? So these periods of stuckness are very, very positive things. And I'd like you to think of the idea of a wave, as a wave comes into the shore. It builds and then it crashes. And then there's that part that goes out onto the sand, and then it starts to recede or kind of like be pulled back in or sucked back into the wave. And then the wave reforms. And this is kind of where we are always in our lives. We're at different parts of the wave. We are at different, sometimes we're at the peak and sometimes we're at the trough. And the thing to remember is that both of these are 100% perfect. The purpose of the peak is to have you be motivated and active and learning and expanding. And what is the purpose of the trough? It's to have you integrate everything you've learned. You might also look at it as, you plant the field, the field grows, and then you harvest the field, and then you let the field rest. And so these periods of stuckness are times when we're resting, we're taking a break, we're doing the important inner work of integrating everything we've been learning. In Messages from the Divine, the book, it talks about you learn at the pace you can handle. You learn at the pace you can handle. And so this idea of beginning to understand that all of the places, the peak and the trough, are both valuable. Or in the Messages from the Divine, it also talks about the idea of success or hardship. And the gifts of hardship are manifold. And here are some examples. The gift of financial ruin teaches you that money is a false god. The gift of social downfall teaches you that fame is fickle. The gift of illness teaches you that the body is mortal. The gift of an accident teaches you that everything changes. The gift of betrayal teaches you discernment. The gift of grief teaches you to enjoy now. The gift of failure teaches you fearlessness, and the gift of bottoming out teaches you to begin again. You receive the lessons that you can handle. Interesting way to think about it, right? Different than what society tells us, which of course is usually untrue. We've been teaching from Messages from the Divine. You can find me and the book at sarahwiseman.com.